Craig is here. His voice is still hot.
Now
Hello.
recording.
Now recording.
Yeah, he is pretty hot.
Yeah, that's the bit each time I open an episode. It's just me and the guest reacting to now recording.
He's a sexual type character. He's a bear.
Yes, a hot bear. I'm sure our listeners will agree. On this fourth episode of the Blorbo Club, and we are welcoming Eclipse to the club today. Say hi, Eclipse.
Hi, I'm DarlingDemonEclipse. My pronouns are she, they. I am a maker of game and often maker of character. I love to make a little guy. It's fun for me.
You love making many guys. I was introduced to you through the hit TTRPG to Change and Sapphicworld, also a hit TTRPG. Do you want to tell the listeners about that?
Yeah, well, I would definitely describe To Change as a hit TTRPG. I don't know if I would describe Sapphicworld as one. Consider like it's not out, but
Oh, right.
um,
Oh, I keep on forgetting it's not out yet. You have
yeah.
so many Blorbos. You've written so
Listen,
many Blorbos for that.
sometimes you just keep making a game and then forget to publish it. Um, but yeah, I played a good amount of played and worked on a good amount of stuff for and around your partner Duck's game To Change, and then I also am creating a TTRPG of my own called Sapphicworld, which is a powered by the apocalypse fantasy game. I don't really know where to start with it. It's kind of exploring like the question that I often get with it is like what is different between this and what's the one that people like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, and I guess my
Mm-hmm.
answer to that question would be like it is it's kind of the it's kind of a completely different road taken. It is a setting specific game. It is you know about like kink and fetish and like sort of more out there modes of like trans and queer intimacy, um and broadly it's kind of it's for it's a little weird. It's a little weird with it. It's very mythopoetic and strange and full of
Mm-hmm.
gonzo storytelling and mechanics, and it's not really, it's, I guess it's made for a broad audience in the sense that I hope that people like it. But it's it's an
Mm-hmm.
unusual game.
I mean, it's setting specific, and the characters in this setting are wonderful. And I think what really stuck out to me were their names. You have a very creative way of naming your characters. How do you think of the names? Like, I remember the Headless Doyen from our playtest from before. Like, how do you think of a name like that for all your
Yeah.
Blorbos?
So that character's name was Crown, the headless doyen, who is the Sapphic world has these doyens who are kind of these like mythical figures who kind of oversee certain elements of the world, and Crown, I think honestly, like sometimes it's just kind of about irony. Like Crown, her name
Mm-hmm.
is just she is she
Um,
does
but
not
she's
have a head.
headless.
Yeah, her head is off, so
Oh,
she's Crown. Um, but
awesome.
some of them I get a little bit more elaborate with. Some of them have really like obscure references to English, like, or to like Spanish, because I went to school for Spanish for quite a bit, and some of them have references to French. Some of them, like, I tend to draw from like what are the cultural influences for this character, and then sometimes I'm also just like, sometimes it's just a joke. Like sometimes I just call a
Mm-hmm.
character
Mm-hmm.
Everfall Twink Death, and like that's all it has to be.
Awesome.
But even that's rife with like a reference that name in itself is a reference to Dragon's Dogma on some level. So, and also a reference to people talking about like twink death as a concept online. So there's a
Mhm.
lot to it, I would say.
Yeah. I also, yeah, I think there's another game that's actually released. We Live Forever and We Love to Live. That's
Yes,
released. Yes.
yeah,
Do you want to tell
that's
the
me
viewers
and the
more about
frog.
what about like what are the Blorbos? Are there like NPCs with set names in that game?
Yeah, so that is a game with we have the Pact Makers who are kind of these scary axial these kind of scary like axiomatic beings who you can make deals with, and it's often a little dangerous and bad and perhaps a little hot. And yeah, they're all
Mm.
named. You got the Bassoon Man, you got Zeta de la Squeak. A lot of that is just like me and me and Crowley, like the first kind of writing environments, and then like thinking about what characters would really fit those environments and like what's compelling to us. I think something that you're gonna come to realize about my approach to like I guess blurboism
Oh,
is
we love
that
that with
I
Blorbobism.
yeah is that I tend to be very utilitarian with it. That there's a tendency uh to make characters for a purpose or like make characters for a specific space that
Mm-hmm.
like is interesting. I think on some level because I do lose that like there's a certain fun in making characters that I kind of associate with like childhood, which is you you make them like for yourself mostly, and just kind of have fun with them, and
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of lose that over time. But also, I think like kind of embracing the artistic element of that can be really really compelling, really like I don't know, really really strong, like and kind of teach you a lot about like yourself, and also like allow you to put out work like put out things that people
Yeah.
really have strong feelings about.
But like speaking of childhood, I think we should go back in time
Yeah, we gotta
to the
we gotta
first
zoom.
Blorbo. Yeah. To the first Blorbo you remember. Do you
Yeah,
remember?
I remember the Blorbos of days past. I have a fairly sharp memory for those that epoch, which which is
Mm-hmm.
I so when I was a kid, I had
Mm-hmm.
this OC. I think his name started as Captain Firesword when I was very very young, and then
Oh.
turned to Flame, and then I had like this whole universe that really never it's something that I never really touched like back on as an adult, but it's something I've thought about a lot and like considered going back to, which was like this kind of sci fantasy uh universe that I like developed on my own and with like friends when I was a kid. That was like there was a it was like in space, and there were like kind of different like solar systems that were like controlled by these like minor deities.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had like champions, and so I had a bunch of these like little champion characters. I had oh gosh, there was definitely a I think Cresceo was the robot. There was a little like green robot
Oh.
who's kind of just a little guy. And then I had Exodus, who was a little guy in an orange outfit. This also has a lot of overlap with my Spore OCs, which like
Oh, you had Sporosies.
yeah, which were basically just kind of these characters, but like in a very primordial and ever shifting form, and kind of what's the word like parallel form to the
Mm-hmm.
OCs themselves. Um,
Yeah.
and I had a oh gosh, I had a character named Appo or Apogee, which wound up. I wrote like so many treatments of this novel that I never actually like finished. That was like about this character. There were a lot of versions of it, but the main, I would say the main like thrust of Apogee's story was that he was a or she or they, like I feel like there were so many versions of this character.
Mm-hmm.
But Apogee was basically uh a person in a like very lush world that was under threat from some sort of weird like army that was trying to cover parts of the world in like a weird goop that they used to like control people's minds. And yeah, it was weird. It was like
How ominous.
uh yeah, and I like tried to get that to work. So I remember trying to get that story to work so many times. Um
Mm-hmm.
and it never really landed, but um a lot of my childhood
Mm-hmm.
and like into like early high school was kind of dedicated to just thinking about that um
That like universe.
yeah, that universe and like those characters. And then eventually
Mm-hmm.
it kind of just fell off for me. I think I honestly, part of it is I think I started running D&D, and I kind of like realized
Mm-hmm.
like, oh hey, I don't need to be like putting all this effort into something that like is never going to like touch anyone else's, like is never going to touch anyone else, like
Mm. Like you don't have
um
like an audience outside yourself.
yeah. And I think when I started running tabletop games, I realized that I could direct direct a lot of that effort to making things that were for other people and
Mm-hmm.
for other people's amusement. I don't know. That was a very valuable thing for me, because I think it affected the way that I think about art. Um, not to say that my approach is like overly utilitarian, because I think that
Mm-hmm.
like there's still a lot of stuff that I do for myself, and I think my work is very self-indulgent in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways. But I do think that I've really like shifted towards a project-oriented sensibility to the degree that
Mm-hmm.
I like have opinions about OCs and Blorbos that are maybe like a little bit controversial. Um,
Oh, I would love to
but
hear about those controversial opinions.
yeah, I always feel nervous about talking about this specific take, but I do think it's valuable to talk about
Mm-hmm.
on the show, which is like I think that there's a risk that people run when they
Mm-hmm.
overly when they talk about the characters that they're writing exclusively
Mm-hmm.
in the under the framework of this is my OC,
Mm-hmm.
of not understanding the value of those characters and the value of the writing that they're doing, and and kind of putting it in a box and saying, oh, this is an OC, this is an original character, like this is not
Mm-hmm.
valuable, this is not like artistic. And then they just kind of like write like the stuff that they write about that character is like reserved to Discord DMs uh and like comics for their like 15 Twitter followers. And well, I think that's
Ah, I
fine.
see.
I think that there's a lot to gain from taking the characters that you're writing seriously, and like giving them the oxygen they deserve, and thinking about like where what sort of stories would they be in, and trying to actually write those stories. And I
I
encourage
see.
people to really like explore that, because I think that you'll learn a lot about yourself and the characters that you're writing, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps even the people you love. And I don't know. I really have a strong I have very strong feelings about this, but I'm also like, it's not the sort of thing where if someone's like doing Blorbus, like if someone's doing OC stuff on their Twitter, I'll be like, "Excuse me, why is this not in a piece of art?" Uh, it's just kind of a take that I have that I bring out every once in a while, because I think it's useful. I think it's useful to like shout it out and be like, "Hey, your work matters, your art matters, your writing matters, and you should feel able to like play with it. You should play. You should play in the space a little bit.
So, from what I understood about your take was that like there's people who have some sort of like a cringe shame thing surrounding their original characters, and the way they express or tell people about their characters is solely through like Twitter posts about like, oh, my OC, like she'd be having a brat summer right now. It's like
Yeah.
very surface level. Like, okay, that doesn't. It's like it's cute, but that doesn't really tell me anything about your original character. You know.
Yeah, and I've also like, as someone who runs and plays a lot of TTRPGs, I've seen, the the kind of ultimate pattern of tabletop games, which is kind of this emphasis on, and I don't necessarily think this is an issue, per se, which is people tend to play, people who don't play TTRPGs all the time, or people who don't design TTRPGs, tend to play their own like OC in a TTRPG instead of making a
Mm-hmm.
character specifically for that setting. And so I find that there are a lot of people's original characters who are kind of unmoored, I guess it would be the word, like
And more.
who kind of don't who kind of don't live anywhere. And I
Oh,
don't know.
they don't fit.
I suppose that that kind of comes from, as I said, like my understanding and use of OCs as very utilitarian. And I think it does kind of. There's an element of this which is like, I do think I like have a bias, and I'm like, I worry that I'm being like, why are people not acting exactly like me? I'm so smart, right? But
Mm,
I do
I
think
get it.
I do think you're right. It's that like I think that there are people who are underutilizing their like serious storytelling and character development shops, and I think that they should respect their potential to like make art more.
I see. But I want to know your take because like this is something I'm guilty of. Like I when I join like one shots or like teach RPG sessions, I create a character for that setting, but mostly I think their personality is the same. Like I tend to gravitate towards playing like the overly flirtatious character because I find
Hmm.
that fun. But I don't know, like there's a part of me like I know this character is like different from a character I played before, but their personality is kind of the same. So how do you feel about like players like me? Like we just tend to like play like different characters, but they all have the same personality.
Oh, I mean, like I have developed a tendency of playing like bimbos recently, right? And
Oh.
uh, it's like I think part of my like writing philosophy is like self-indulgence, and like I think part of self-indulgence is like being like, oh, okay, I'm playing this character archetype again, and then just not caring and just doing it anyways. So
It's
I think it's
fun.
based, and I think you should like.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's truly no issue with playing the same character like every time on some level. But I think also I don't know. I when I run TTRPGs, I like when people are bringing something are responding to the game and responding to other players, and as long as that's happening, as long as like there's a conversation happening about who this character is in this setting with these people, that's all I really care about.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is just, you know, as I said, I play a lot of characters who are very similar, who fit into like certain archetypes. I play some gay little wizards, like some like really kind of sopping wet little wizards.
Sopping.
Um,
Oh, I love that. Okay. I love how you describe them like that.
Oh, you haven't. That's a big. That's like a big thing for me. Is the term
Sopping
the
wet,
term sopping wet. I find it really funny.
moist.
Yeah,
I love
like
that.
I think it's a really useful term for like. Ah, yes, this is a character who is just a little guy. I'm in a Sapphicworld play-by-post that my friend Eden is running, and I'm playing a character named Squolg, which is
Squalled.
a really crazy name.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a doll that was made by this guy who was her wife for a very long time and has recently left because he has this like destructive, not really destructive, he has this all-consuming urge to become part of her, to like be in some sort of fucked up unity with her. And
Oh, they want to crawl in her skin, be a part of her entity.
yeah. Well, it's a very
Oh.
transgender thing, right? Like it's very
Mm-hmm.
like a thing that I think about a lot is when I was like a preteen, the cool like goth emo girls or like fangirl type type characters in
Mm-hmm.
my in my high school, like I had this like fascination with them that I couldn't quite identify, that kind of was like
Mm-hmm.
consuming and weird and like and kind of rough and
Mm-hmm.
uh just unmoored, I guess.
Anymore.
And
It's like
it
you want to be them in a way.
yeah, absolutely. And that sort of thing can be really hard to identify. Like, am I like, do I have a crush on this person, or am I like, how normal is this? How normal is this
Yeah.
feeling that I'm
Like
having
what
about
level
this
of
person?
normal of this like I do I want them or do I want to be them?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was kind of that was kind of the like guiding philosophy on Squall, is like this character like is deeply in love with the sky, who's like a person in Sapphicworld, who's like a beautiful woman who maybe hypnotizes you a little. I don't know. I don't have. Listen, there have been some allegations about the
Mm-hmm.
sky hypnotizing people. I don't know if they're true. I talked to her, and everything seemed okay to me when I talked to her. So, I think people should stop complaining about her and
Yeah,
just
told
listen
me
to what she
nothing
says.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
rumors,
Um,
nothing. It's
I
totally
hope you don't
fine.
mind me bringing bringing
Oh no, it's all right.
hypno to
It's
your
funny. It's
good.
funny. No, we love hypno in at some level. I've always been fascinated with like hypno as a kink, but
It's
that
pretty
is
cool.
yeah, I don't know, like I don't think I haven't come across like the right material that really gets me going or like has lured me into its appeal, but I've like played I think Meisty is like one visual novel that I see plays with it, and it's
Uh,
fun. It's kinky. It's hot.
I've heard really great things about Meisty. I still haven't gotten around to it. Yeah, it's really interesting. Oh god, should I break the meta shield on this? Um,
Oh, break all the shields you want.
yeah. So Sapphic World, right? I have this. There's a
Hmm.
character in Sapphic World named Doctor Mindfuck, who is
Oh,
a
I love Dr. Mindfuck. Yes.
she's so funny. She's an elf. And she's a doctor. She's a PhD in not non-traditional therapy, let's say. Psychologist. She's
Mm-hmm.
a doctorate in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
She's an ardent communist and also a mind control therapist. Unfortunately, Twitter is not up right now, so I can't read some of these tweets. But what I'll say is there is a person that there happens to be a Dr. Mindfuck Twitter account. I won't say who that
Ooh,
is, but
it's not you.
I mean,
Who is it?
I hmm, I think I think if anyone reads the tweets, it'll be pretty obvious who it is.
Is Dr. Mindfuck
But
single?
uh, it depends. She's poly.
Mm,
She's
I
definitely not
see.
single though. She's definitely like yeah, a lot of the tweets on her account are very much like playing with the kind of format of tweets and kind of like exploring like her personality. She's a very pathetic hypnodom.
Mm.
She's kind of awful. She like so badly needs to be in control, right? Which is why
Mm-hmm.
she does this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like very funny. Sometimes it's a little hot. I think that's a really fun area to explore with like a character or a story. Is just like the Venn diagram of that's fucked up, that's really funny, and that's really hot. Like the SpongeBob looking
Oh
three
yeah.
ways image.jpg is really cool to me, and I like to explore that space.
A lot of instances in the Sapphicworld during the playtest I was in, like, could fit a lot of those, like, Venn diagrams. It's fucked up, it's funny, and it's hot. Man, I miss
Yeah,
Sapphicworld.
I love playing and running it. So listen, I will probably you one day we will play Sapphic World again together, and we'll be and everyone will cheer.
Yes, my just to share, like, Venus is my Sapphicworld character. She is a sheep girl with four boobs, and
Yes,
I basically based her aesthetic on the hit singer right now, Sabrina Carpenter. So her whole vibe, it's Venus, very flirty, very hot, very horny. So
huge boobs.
yes, huge, huge boobs.
Yeah,
I miss
four
playing
of them.
her. All four of them. So going back to like your childhood, we had your Blorbos from space, and
Yeah,
from what I understood, like you really create characters like very utilitarian, very based on the setting. And ever since you were a kid, you've always had these fantastical worlds. Do you remember like if there was a following? Like what were the characters after that?
yeah. Well, I think a lot of that, as I mentioned, like my early D&D stuff when I was running
Oh
D&D,
right.
uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that kind of led into like where I am now. I mean, literally, some people, I don't know if anyone listening to this has watched a zombie survivalist second edition actual play that I did a couple of years back called "It's Up to You," really, which was
Hmm.
a like setting continuation of my D&D game. Of
Is it
my
on
D&D home game.
Twitch
Yes,
or
it
like
was on Twitch. It's on
ah?
YouTube now. The
Mm.
VODs. But yeah, like I kind of wound up. I'm trying to think. I don't know if a lot of stuff got like moved over from my like fancy childhood like sci fantasy setting, which is called the Metasphere, I believe, which is really funny considering like how similar that is to like certain
Uh,
like the
um,
metaverse stuff that's really
right.
in the
Metasphere.
zeitgeist now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so like a lot of D&D stuff was in the setting. I think that I just kind of wound up calling the Cosmos because it didn't really have like a useful name, which I could go like so deep into the structure of, but like some really fun characters in that. So there were two characters. I'm trying to remember the exact structure of this.
Structure meaning like the world building.
Yeah, like the kind of world building that I had for this, because
Mm-hmm.
there's so in It's Up to You, really, there's this character named Ikarl, who's kind of the god of death, and he's made up of two other gods who like come from the last iteration of the universe. Like there was some sort of apocalyptic event, um,
Mm-hmm.
and the being so Ikarl is a mix of Ferrell, the god of wizardry, and Ikaros, the god of death. And like a lot of the world was kind of shaped by and like in conversation with the idea that like during the end of the last universe, Ikaros, who is like this very like soft spoken but ultimately like kind of ambitious little creature, and Ferrell, the wizard, who is like this very rambunctious kind of wizard king, um, were in like deep conflict because Ferrell wanted the world to continue existing, and Ikaros was like, yeah, no, the shit's over. And so eventually, like, there wasn't really any fighting left to do. The world was ending, and
Yeah.
Ikaros was just like, hey, uh, there's not anything left for us here. Like, in this last moment that we have together, can we not fight? Can I just hold you?
Aw.
And they just kind of held in like the last hours of this universe, and I think on some level, like, it was never really textual, but I think on some level, like, that care, like, kind of allowed them to persist into the next world, into like uh
Aw.
the next time.
When the yearning is so strong.
Yeah, when the yearning is so strong. And I remember, so in the D&D game that Ikaros and Feral originally appeared in, the characters didn't know Feral was Feral for a very long time. He was just the Wizard King, this very silly guy who like used magic to like create a spaceship for them because it was like a sci fantasy sort of setting. I tend
Oh.
to go back to that sort of like Gonzo, like you're in space but there's swords and knights and stuff. It's just cool for me.
It's a fun
Um,
setting, yeah.
yeah. And then eventually it was like, oh yeah, this is Feral. And then they met Ikaros, and it was really, it was very interesting. I think a lot of like I was shaping that as it was happening, and using some older stuff from like previous campaigns that never really finished up. But I'm very proud of that campaign. That was called Sable Skies, and that was for like a couple of my really good friends.
How long did the campaign last?
Oh gosh, like I think 2 years. It was a long one, at least for me. Like I don't usually do
Damn.
campaigns that long these days. Um,
Damn.
but it was really cool. I really enjoyed that.
I wish I was in a campaign. Yeah, I think the longest campaign I think I shared also in the first episode was the Island of Dr. Moreau campaign was like half a year.
Yeah,
And those 6 months rewired my brain. So if I were ever to be in like a longer campaign with a Blorbo, playing a Blorbo that I love, I don't know how I would function, but I would like to be in a campaign like that long. Yeah.
yeah. I haven't been in one in anything that long in years because like so much of what I do right now is like playtests, and those tend to be you know ephemeral and temporary by their very nature. I would really love to run something longer. I think that also kind of goes into
Mhm.
like a problem with indie games, which is a lot of them aren't really made for like long-term advancement. That
Mhm.
that's getting into tabletop role-playing game design stuff that I don't necessarily know if is relevant to this podcast. But
But I gotta ask though, like if when Sapphicworld does come out, like how long do you think like a normal campaign would run?
oh gosh, I mean, I've run Sapphicworld campaigns that were 6 to 8 sessions, maybe 10 to 12 if I'm really blasting it and we're like really in it. But I mean, there's Sapphic World, like, you can do a campaign of Sapphic World, and like, that'll be a delicious and yummy lunch, and you'll pat your tummy and you'll say, "Wow, that was really good." Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yum
you
yum
can do
yum.
another, and and you can also just start fucking around. Like, there's a lot of stuff in
It's
the
very
game that you're
open
probably not.
world.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, like very inspired by like Noita and stuff like that.
Oh
Um,
God, Noita. I suck at that game.
it's hard. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you're not going to see or really like experience or get to touch if in a normal campaign. And so I could very much see people like doing year plus campaigns just to do certain stupid little Easter eggs that I put in the game. Which
mhm.
that's the beauty of this world, is that you can truly go anywhere. And
I love Sapphic World. Indeed.
I love to be in the Sapphics world. Um,
I love all the Sapphics. But like speaking of the Sapphics, I know you also do the art. Do you solely do the art for Sapphic World? Or do you have
uh,
other artists on board?
I would say I do the majority of the art, but there are some other artists who've done pieces for the book. Yeah.
I love how you design all the Blorbos in Sapphic World. How do you think of like the color scheme, like the design? Like you make very specific silhouettes for your original characters. How do you think of that?
It's funny because I did some redesign stuff for a character recently, High Priest Odom, who is a who was previously kind of the sad what's the name of the text that inspired it? Is it San Manuel Bueno Martir? Yeah, very very San Manuel Bueno Martir inspired. Who's kind of this like very like basically the joke of San Manuel Bueno Martir, which is in a Spanish text, a Spanish short story, and the joke of this character High Priest Odom was like, what if a priest was having what if a priest was an atheist? Like what
Oh
if
wow.
a priest was becoming doubtful about their faith? Um,
Mm.
and I kind of went back on that for this new like design and approach for Odom. Where now Odom's like this kind of can I say dyke on your show?
I mean, go ahead. Okay.
Okay. This like trans mask like he him lesbian he dyke and
Mm-hmm.
he's more of a pervert about it. Like the reason why he's a priest is because like he
Oh,
has like a nun fetish, right? Um
okay.
and he's
Freak you
kind
a
of a freak.
bit.
But
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's kind of a multi in terms of like the art because to kind of get back to the point, the question that you actually asked, I kind of rambled. But the art for him, you know, I did very recently. Actually, let me post that because I think it looks really good. But
Yeah.
I kind of wound up. I mean, there's kind of the stuff that I do for every Sapphicworld character, which is I have these like specific palettes that I use that are for each land. Lands being kind of the like little areas in Sapphicworld. And characters tend to adhere to those palettes. But then there's also the sort of, as you said, so like the silhouette element of it, the personality, and so I think a lot of it for me
Mm-hmm.
is just like the reason why I've done a lot of redesigns lately is because I've found myself like playing characters very differently in my
Mm-hmm.
campaigns of Sapphic World. Um, so a lot of it winds up just being like, what are the vibes of this character? What is the truth of this character? How can I depict that using using my frankly like kind of very very self taught art.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's
and
lovely.
well, thank you. And also like, can I reproduce this design for a full page or a piece of spot art? Like, I try and make stuff that's going to be easy for me to draw again,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise, like for my recent game that I've been writing, Autopsy Feast, I drew this like crazy design for one of the
Mm-hmm.
uh one of the playbook like iconic characters, and the factory wife, which is like this like weird little spider thing with like six boobs that like turn into spider legs, and like
Oh,
a face that's covered in like red and blue like vein wires that are each like, what's the deal with them?
Factory
Oh yeah,
Wife's
they like run
design
through the whole
very
thing.
complicated.
Yeah, it's definitely very complicated. And also like it has this weird like split robot head thing. And like I like that design a lot, but it's gonna be a pain in the ass to draw that character again, right? Um,
Right, yeah.
but yeah, I tend to just kind of think about I don't know, what makes me happy about this character. How can I make this character make me happy? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I like
Kind
from
of
Sapphic
rambled. Sorry
World.
about
Like,
that.
this is like just turned into the Sapphic World episode. I
I can
love
talk
it.
about Sapphire World smiles. I love to.
Yeah, like I remember in the places I was in, the character that stuck with me the most, and the character that I tried like to keep bringing back via my character Venus was, God, I regret forgetting his name, but the dragon who was on like the Tinder app on Venus's
Oh, Kane.
phone. Kane. Oh, I love
Yeah, Kane
Kane.
Fated Dragon. He's really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, he's hot but so cringe at the same time.
Yeah, that's a really important element, I think, of like a good Sapphic World OC, a good Sapphic World player character, NPC. Like,
Hmm.
they gotta be a little cringe with it.
Hmm. You have to embrace it. Gotta be a little
Yeah,
free. Gotta be
little.
a little jester.
little freakoid. Something that I really like, kind of going back to like something that we were talking about earlier with like TTRPG characters. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my friend Ira Prince, who is in the creative collective that I'm in, You Are Beheld, who is a very big Sapphicworld fan and player, uh, was talking at one point about how Sapphicworld as a game is like it's an OC engine, but it's not it's not meant for you to like make generic OCs. It is an OC engine with which you make Sapphicworld OCs, right? Um,
Yes.
and Sapphicworld
Mm-hmm.
OCs are a little cringe and a little fraught, in ways that I think are really
A little
fun.
pathetic, a
A
little
little pathetic.
freak with it. Yeah. Yeah, now that I think about it, like, yeah, my character, my partner's character, our friend Ewan's character, the way we play them, the way we create them, like they would be like the word you used earlier, unmoored in other settings. Like they would be very removed from like other settings. And Sapphic World is really it's very distinct, like that's where they belong. They live in that world and
Yeah.
they are freaky with it, as all the denizens of Sapphic World are. Yeah, it's not usual that I come across TTRPGs like Sapphic World because, again, like Sapphic World is very distinct, and other settings are kind of normal core. I say, I can't think of another word.
It's a freaky
Normal
little
core.
world for sure.
Mm-hmm. But with when you play in other TTRPGs, like my favorite that I keep on mentioning, also, I'm Dr. Moreau. You also played in the playtest of that, and can you tell me more, or do you remember the character you played in that playtest?
Yeah, I played Angel, who Angel was a very silly character. She
Oh.
she was a very conflicted character. She went from like trying to date Dr. Moreau to like dating Ambrose. Like
Mm-hmm.
very yeah. I think a thing that I tend to do when I'm playing a character is I tend to like part of it is like I tend to think about like I don't know, like there's a degree of tabletop role playing games that like is wish fulfillment, and so there's like a little bit of myself that tends to show up in characters. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but
Same.
then there's like the element of like I don't know, I come at it from like what's the word? Um, brain is not working. Oh yeah, like trying to have a character who's like really gonna interact with the world in an interesting way, and
Mm-hmm.
and like the other characters, and be like fulfilling for me arc wise. Mhm. And I also just tend to play like characters who are a little nice, but sometimes a little selfish, and sometimes like
Mm-hmm.
often like are caught up with the deep yearning that they don't fully understand.
I love
But yeah,
characters like that.
Angel was like a person who really didn't like a trans woman who like had come from kind of a dead end
Mm-hmm.
life wise, and was like really struggling to like keep themselves alive before they were like swept away onto this like fantastical this fantastical island, or not fantastical, but
Mm-hmm.
this tropical island. um and so at first I think she really wanted to be she really wanted to be good. She really wanted to like make sure that she had a place here that wasn't going to be deleted, and taken away from her. And then
So
eventually,
she kind of did that through like Dr. Moreau is like a very important character like on the island. So was that kind of her way of like cementing her place on the island, like trying to woo Dr. Moreau?
yes, trying to woo him, kowtowing to him, like. But then eventually the power went out and there was like no food and no water, and she was like, "Oh wait, this is like a jail, like we're in a prison."
Oh,
And like,
the
all right, I should
realization.
probably get serious about this. This is not just like haha silly fun times anymore. This has gotten a little too
Mhm.
it's gotten a little bit too political, pulls tugs at collar. Um,
Yes, I thought
which
no
I think is
politics on this island.
yeah, which I think is fun, and like I don't know, I think about like not to actually get too political, but I think about like people like Brianna Wu, who are like really
Hmm.
opportunistic trans women who like would be willing to sell out the rest of us for like a silver dollar
Mm-hmm.
and a bottle of booze. Um,
Yeah.
Not to be too old west with it. I don't know why I
Oh,
went for this,
okay. Okay.
yeah,
Angel's deeply flawed. She has flaws too.
yeah. But at the end of the day, we are all sisters. That's the important. That's the T-girl code.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important to me. And so, when I play, even when I play trans women who suck, I tend to make them have some sort of solidarity at their heart because that's my experience. Is that
Yeah.
you know, I think even a lot of trans women who suck can pull pull through every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
I played a lot of eggs recently. I think that's like Squolg is an egg. I have a character in a podcast that I can't talk about yet who's an egg.
Eggs, like eggs literal or egg, is that a term of endearment?
Oh yeah,
Sorry, I'm not.
so an egg is a term for a person who is definitely trans but doesn't know that they're
Mm.
trans. A great example of that is what's the main character in I Saw the TV Glow is very much an egg.
Ah, I
Um,
see. Okay.
yeah, like someone who in all of their behaviors is like deeply trans, but like doesn't know it, and like I think the thing that's compelling to me is like kind of the refusal to embrace it, or like
Mm-hmm.
the I also find like the sort of like when a character has like multiple lives, the idea that they are out in one life and not out in another um is
Mm-hmm.
really interesting to me. A wrestler or a superhero or something like that. Um
Mm-hmm.
and like the I also really like it when it's not the life that you'd expect. Like if they're out like if their secret identity is out, but their superhero identity isn't, I think is really fun. Um
It's interesting to see how they would like deal with these two different experiences.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I don't like tormenting T-girls too much, but sometimes sometimes it's allowed as a treat,
Eh,
you know?
okay.
I've kind of been
That's just-
rambling,
I,
so
no, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. We're covering a lot. You have lots of Blorbo, lots of characters, lots of universes. Right. Yeah, so with Angel and the characters that you write like as one off, like how do you, because I think with Rose at me at least for Rose in our IOTM playtest, like she was kind of meant to be like this one-off character who ended up being like meaning a whole lot more to me. Do you have characters like that? Like you like role play them, you think like they're gonna be kind of like for one shot, whatever, but they ended up like showing up in your future works or yeah, do you have any characters like that?
yeah. I have a list of not to you know, ironically bringing us back to Sapphicworld just because
Okay, no,
it
go ahead. This is Sapphicworld episode.
yeah, it's kind of like core to a lot of what I do at the moment. Um, so I have a like whole list, and I have some art of characters from play by posts. This is a big element of this that I haven't really touched on, which is like a big piece of inspiration for Sapphic World was doing like 18 plus play by posts over the years, and um, I have a lot of characters from those that are not in any of my other work at this point who I'd really like to use, and so I have some pieces of art that I made specifically for Sapphic World that are those characters kind of reimagined for it. And so I have
Mm-hmm.
what's their name? I have Lovelace, who was a halfling in a halfling who truly got fucked like six ways from Sunday in a game.
Oh, okay.
Can I say that?
Like in a good way or a bad way? Like how
Like,
fucked were they?
no, in like a good way, and in like
Oh,
a
like a good way.
yeah, in like an I rove out in search of truth and love way, in a
Oh,
in
okay.
a in a like
Okay.
very nice, pleasant
Mm-hmm.
sexual way.
Okay.
And so I'm working on I have a character who I want to write for Sapphicworld, who's Pleasure Mate Lovelace, who's like this kind of funny like frog short stack, frog girl short stack who's kind of gonna be my
Ooh, short
export of
stacks.
her. Um, and she had a very like cocky uh and playful personality, and I really enjoy playing characters like that. Um, as I said, like bimbos, like uh kind of sexed up and awesome type characters. And I have a Chessa, who's a very like serious kind of warrior character who had a like magical arsenal that she could just like pull weapons from. And so she's gonna be like a an angel who's like a living forge type character. And then I have Nidium, who Nidium's already done. She's in Sapphicworld. She was a fellowship character. She was the dragon. Um, who her main thing is that she has like intoxicating poison breath, which is now like sort of a wine breath in Sapphicworld. Um,
Ah,
and she uses it for totally normal purposes and not to seduce people. Not at all.
totally not for
That would be
breath
inappropriate.
play.
Not for breath
Totally
play, not
not.
for intox
Mm,
play, not for any of that stuff.
just
No,
a
I'm a
real
very
want like breath.
wholesome 100 type character, type person.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Everyone knows how wholesome I am.
Awesome. Do you actually have wholesome characters? Like even like from way before?
Hmm.
Or are all your characters like in some way freaky with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, when I was a kid, obviously everything was wholesome, but yeah, like I would say
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my D&D stuff was very like like rated T for teen, like very low key.
Ah.
Um, I think it's only recently, like in the, I think in my, I think for a long time I did the like play by post stuff on the side, and then I had, my more serious storytelling, and recently I've kind of just crossed those beams, and so,
Mm-hmm.
I think as of recently, a lot of my work winds up coming out blue, right? It tends to be a bit more corrupted.
Their writing corrupted characters are fun.
True, very true.
Hmm. Like, I
Uh,
don't think I'd make a character who's like, I don't know. I think that's why I never really tend to gravitate towards playing like younger, like teen, like children characters, because like I don't know, like they're not my age group, and I am not a wholesome player, so I would not. I don't really want to play younger characters. I've never played
yeah,
younger characters.
I get that. I want uh I like when bad and weird stuff can happen to my characters. I guess would be
Yeah,
my yeah. It's fun.
exactly.
Like there's a lot to get from being open to and like directly requesting like, hey, can you so like you mentioned this you mentioned this evil sorceress. Can she do some awful things to my character?
Yeah.
Can she remake my character in her image, please? Thank you.
Can
Um
she hypnotize
I,
me?
please.
Please, 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 mommy, please. Sorry, mommy. Sorry.
Please. Sorry, mom. Sorry, mommy.
Please.
Yeah, real. Um I don't know. I like telling like recently I've become so reliant and like excited about telling stories that are about about like sex and sexuality. Um
Hmm. Hmm.
because I don't know, it's an area that I find like really compelling and interesting, and um, I think there's like a lot of unexplored territory in that.
Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your character. You know your kinks. You know what your character's
Yeah.
kinks are. Maybe you and your
Mm-hmm.
character have the same kinks.
Maybe who knows? This is this is this is playing to find out. Really,
Yeah. I think with
this is the future
Rose at
playing to find
least,
out. Playing. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say like with Rose at least, like I don't have the kink, but she would probably be into knife play.
Hell yeah.
I don't know why, but it fits her vibe. I think she'd be into knife play. I'd be scared if like a very sharp, dangerous object was used on me during a very vulnerable, intimate moment, but I think she'd find it very hot.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really fun. Uh, knife play's cool. A fun thing. I know a lot of T girls who are into who are into that. Which might not be surprising to some people. If you know the types of women that I hang out around.
Do
Um,
you write characters who like do you write characters who have like who embody or like have a kink that you're not necessarily into?
oh, that's an interesting one. I, see, I think that's probably my most like basic. It's one of my most
Mm-hmm.
basic qualities, which is like not really. I'm trying to think.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, do I have any characters who are like that? Hmm.
Mm. Makes you think.
Yeah, like I don't think I have any characters who are like into piss or anything.
Oh, so like all of them, like you got all there. You're into it.
Yeah, I think that I tend to. It's probably like my most like I don't know. Like this is very normal of me, I guess, on some level. But like I tend to come at characters from like there has to be like an area that compels me, or like an area that is like interesting to me, or like not interesting, but like uh
Mm-hmm.
an area that like I can relate to and kind of be compatible with. And so yeah, I guess that I don't really, huh? I had never really thought about that. That's really interesting.
Mm. Well, it's fair. It's
Yeah,
fair. Yeah, it's like the right characters that you know, like you can resonate with.
yeah, I definitely write characters
Kinkily.
that are. I think also like exploring a thing that I'm exploring at the time that I'm writing them, which is also very like very direct, right, and very like uh, I don't know, like I tend to tabletop and because I do a lot of my stuff in tabletop, right? Um, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say broadly writing is really like for me is very much about like exploring things from uh like exploring emotions for me and like I think I've made a lot of like personal progress just by like playing games like as silly
Mm-hmm.
as it can sound
No,
like
I get it. I get it.
yeah, and so I think that's kind of where I come at it from. Is just I've learned a lot about myself through play, and so um yeah, I think I just kind of start from there. I just kind of start from like uh a lot of things that I do or wind up a lot of like characters that I write wind up being uh coming from me or like coming from things that I already like. I'm already into.
I
Hell
guess
yeah.
just to wrap up this session, can you share like do you have any favorite Blorbos? Like,
Oh
is there a
gosh.
Blorbo like your longest, like your most favorite Blorbo keeps on showing up in your work, or a Blorbo you love to write about all the time?
Is there a character who keeps showing up? Because I feel like there probably is, and there's probably something that I haven't like identified yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, favorite reoccurring Blorbo.
It doesn't have to be just
I
one. It could be like a group of Blorbos.
Yeah, there might be. I think the gentle-hearted. This is not a character, but this is an archetype, which is
Mm.
the gentle-hearted wizard, the like the magus, the like the soft magus. I think is a character that I am like irrevocably attached to in a way that is like really
Mm.
severe. Um, like I think about like one of the original characters from my like early like childhood setting, Apogee, who was a character who like wore a nice little white sweater and an orange scarf and was always drinking tea and like was very
How
careful around
cozy.
nature. Yeah, very cozy filled character. Um, and I think that like the idea of this very gentle but powerful character, this kind of almost like hidden majesty is really compelling to me, and I think like uh maybe like a little aspirational on some level. Like it's a thing that you know I hope to be I hope to be gentle to like myself
Mm-hmm.
and the world and the people around me. And so I think that kind of comes out in like that sort of character and that sort of reoccurring motif that I wind up using. Um, and I think like Squolg, who I mentioned, is very much that. Um, there's a character in like Sapphicworld
Mm-hmm.
itself named Harn, who studies dragons, who is very much that. Um, Farrell,
Mm-hmm.
the like uh, god of wizardry that I mentioned earlier, is very much that. And so I think a lot of my work has been like, I don't know, on some level like thinking about uh power and care and a lot of stuff like that. And so I think that is like thematically a character who embodies a lot of that. Um, and that would kind of be why that would kind of be why I keep going back to them.
Yeah, gentle wizards, very cozy pilled,
Yeah.
very. It's a kind of are they kinky also in a way? If they're very cozy pilled, very soft, very gentle with the world, is there like I guess there is kink in like aftercare when I think about it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what's funny is that I was just thinking like recently I've gotten so much more freaky with that specific premise. Like Squolg is a real freak. Like Squolg is kind of scary in some ways. In the
Really?
sense that like, he really wants to be one with the sky. And I say he when I say he about Squolg, what I mean is she, because
Okay.
like Squolg is an egg. Squolg is absolutely an egg.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and like that, like there's like a meme entering my brain, and I'm trying to fully format, which is like, uh,
Hmm.
something. There's nothing more powerful in this world uh than an egg who does not yet have what she wants. um,
Yes.
and
We should
and
make
so I
that
think
into an
like
actual movie.
yeah, like being a real pervert about a goddess and being like I want to become part of her is like real freak shit. In a
Very
way that I think
hot.
on first observation is like, oh, look at this cute wholesome 100 little guy, and then you look closer and it's like, oh, this is like this person wants to like suffuse into their lover in a way that's crazy.
Like, what school think about cannibalism?
That's a good question. Squilk has certainly used the term consume before to talk about the
Mm.
sky. So,
I think school would be a
um,
big fan of cannibalism.
Squilk might have thought about cannibalism once or twice. I don't think he's above that. Uh, I
Let
think that
school
would
eat the
be
sky.
perhaps a way to get what he wants. Yeah, Squilk, eat the sky, okay? You'll have fun. It'll be
Man,
cute.
consume this guy. It's gonna be cute.
It'll be
It's gonna be
totally
fun.
Brat
It's gonna be
Summer of you.
romantic. Yeah, totally brat summer, totally gentle, demure, whatever the term is these days.
Yeah. See, by
I
the time this
crave
comes
at
out,
school.
presumably we'll
Mm.
be far out of Brat Summer. We're gonna be in. Listen, I don't always agree with Halamede on the issues, but I do agree with her that it's good girl autumn.
Oh, it is indeed. I wish we had that
Yeah.
weather here in the Philippines. I can only
So
live it through you.
we all gotta behave,
Good girl
uh,
autumn.
and we'll get our treats and our bowl and stuff like that. I don't know.
And their spooky, spooky treats. Yes. For our good girl listeners out there, do you want to say any like final words? Any Blorbo
Um,
shout outs? Anything at all?
Sapphicworld has bad boys also. I should note. Kane. I would say
Wait,
Kane's a bad boy.
hold the presses. We're not the podcast yet. Did you say bad boys?
Yeah, you got Kane. I feel like Kane's a bad boy.
Yeah, Kane is a pathetic bad boy. Still a bad
Yeah,
boy.
you got Odom. I think new Odom is very much a bad boy. Like he is you know, older, um, you know, uh, kind of a freak with it,
A lot of
doing
old
what he
men.
wants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and trying to think of other bad boys. Cadence or a Quilt if you're really willing to go for like gutter bottom of the barrel. You got him.
I think I wanted Venus to go after him at one point, but
Good.
it just didn't have the opportunity to.
Sad man.
Mm-hmm.
Really makes you cry.
Someday, someday,
Someday.
someday. Who is your oldest bad boy? Like old man, graying
Oh,
balls.
who would that be? I'm trying to think. Old ass man. I would describe the draftsman named Muir in Sapphicworld as that. He is like an ex-soldier of the Empire who's now kind of like
Oh,
the closest thing that Sapphicworld has to like a Nazi hunter. Um, and he's a big whale man who wears overalls and very little else. Uh, and he's definitely getting up there.
you
In
have art of
age.
him.
Yes, I do. Let me get Muir in here.
I need him carnally.
He's pretty cool. Yeah, here's Muir.
Oh my god.
He's kind of
Is that a
sexual with that.
back tattoo?
No, he has roots. So his feet are roots, and then he has
Mhm.
roots growing like up his lower body.
Oh, what those
He's got
roots
that Russie.
do? Oh. Is that a mustache seaweed? Seaweed
Uh,
mustache.
less of a mustache and more just he's got seaweed on him. He's a whale. He's been swimming.
Oh, he can swim in this.
It's so true.
Oh
So
yeah, he can
um
swim in all that. Very, very dad bod. Very old
yeah.
man. Indeed.
I was like, I need some like dad bod ass in this. I need a guy who's like, you know, uh, who's getting up there, turned around, ass out. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important. Um, oh yeah, not a Sapphicworld character, but my game Autopsy Feast, which I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
The narrator is kind of a bad boy. They use they them pronouns, but
Mm-hmm.
Vic Victim is their name. Let me pull up Vic Victim.
Vic
Uh,
victim. That is a bad boy
yeah,
name.
yeah. Here's Vic. Vic's kind of Vic's a cocky little freak.
Vic.
Um,
Hello, Vic.
yeah. Vic is Let me let me read the entry for weapons in Autopsy Feast, just to give you kind of a little sense of what Vic is like.
Alright, I love how you drew Vic's face.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they have weird little eyes. Very inspired by some Star Wars stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so on the subject of weapons in Autopsy Feast, Vic Victim says, "A killer's thing, sharp or hot or wicked. Ugh, came."
Oh, that's
Yeah,
how mysterious.
he
I
came
love
about it.
how I love how like smuggy sounds even just the like those few lines of text.
Yeah, he's definitely he's kind of silly with it. Um he's kind of a bastard. Like he says some stuff that's like really mean in the book. Like in what was the section on safety? He says so it's header safety. Question. What am I even getting into? And then he says, "Moon-brained fucking question. You've got only one way forward, pal. The time to ask this was before you got impounded and sliced apart." Ugh, fine. This book
Oh,
contains, and then goes into like what's in the book. Um, he's
a
very
lot.
antagonistic towards the reader in a way that's very fun. Or sorry,
I
they're
like
yeah, they them.
they like they're like making my degrading kink feel some type of way.
Yeah,
Like
for
I don't
real.
mind. Like please be mad at me. I'll ask again.
Yeah, they're a little upset. It's pretty fun.
This is
Um,
the kinkiest episode
I'm glad.
so
I
far.
I try to bring that where I go. Um, whether people want it or not.
I'm sorry, guys. You all think that this is gonna be like cute, Boro, fun, pure times? No, Blorbos are kinky. Blorbos are hot. Sometimes Blorbos serve as vehicle for kinks. You know.
Yeah, you're in my realm now, okay?
Yes,
Uh,
we're all the Sapphic world realm now.
yeah, and anything that happens is because I said it. It will happen.
Mm-hmm. So true. So true. Um, do you want to invite our listeners into the Sapphics world?
Yeah, you can check out Sapphicworld at one moment.
I will link it also down below. Don't worry. Oh yeah, you should give me
Yeah.
those links too.
Yes. Get Sapphicworld. You can either grab it on the Darling Demon Games Patreon, or you can grab the ash can for free, the Dream ash can,
Hmm.
which has a variety of little elements. Not really a playable version, but if you want to like give the game a little look, that's a good place to do that. Um, and broadly, if you go into my Discord server, which is around, I'll put a link in here for it too. Um, you can check out like things that I'm saying about Sapphicworld, because I certainly say a lot about it. um,
Yeah, follow along the development. How many pages are you in counting?
oh God, uh,
I think I looked
I
at
can
the
probably get you an
document like a
exact.
year ago. It's like a lot of pages. Like it was like my laptop was kind of lagging while I was
Uh,
scrolling through the document.
I am currently at 1066 for the two base
Mm,
documents, but
awesome.
when the game comes out, it will probably be in a much more digestible, 300 or less page version. And then I'll be adding like expansions that include a bunch of the a bunch of the other stuff that's,
Our
you know,
1000. Yeah,
my
I
17
see.
trillion pages or whatever it is.
We are all excited for it. I think that's all we have time for, though. Thank you so much, Eclipse, for sharing your Bloros. I'm sure there are a lot more of them. We could do a part two if you want to share more. Of course, I know there are like quite a few more that you haven't shared, and I would love to hear them next time.
Yeah, you can feel free to bring me on again anytime. But I had a blast. I feel like we had a wonderful conversation.
Yes, thank you. And for our listeners, you can also listen to. Can you share like what time, like what's your like streaming schedule for the Dovecote?
Yes, the dev code on twitch.tv/DarlingDemonEclipse is every Monday from from generally from 7 o'clock p.m. EST to 9 o'clock p.m. EST. Sometimes it will
Mhm.
be 6 to 8. But yeah, that is my tabletop role playing game discussion show, and it's pretty awesome.
Yes, go listen if you want to hear more about like game design, TTRPG, drama. Sometimes I've heard general TTRPG news,
Sometimes we talk about
and
drama.
I love drama. Go
It's
hop on
awesome.
there if you want drama. Okay, yeah, say bye to the audience.
Bye,
Bye to the
audience.
audience. Bye.